Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's a pleasure to get together with you this April 11th, 2023. It's 8 o'clock Central, and we get together with our distribution partners most mornings. Today, we're going to have a topic on frequently asked questions, and these are more FAQs associated with you as a distribution partner, not really client FAQs. That could be a whole separate discussion, but there'll be some overlap, of course. As we typically do, we want to start with making sure that we're clear on what we do. Then we're going to talk about who we help, and then we'll get to our frequently asked questions here in a moment. So it's important to know what you and I do together as technical advisors. What we do is we help small business owners improve their credibility on paper so they qualify for financing, whether it be business loans, auto financing, mortgages, or what have you. We do a lot with equipment financing in getting tow trucks and company vehicles and such. And so the type of financing, I was going to say, isn't important. Of course, in terms of developing a funding plan, it is. But regardless of what the use of funds is going to be, whether it be real estate or working capital, equipment, vehicles, or what have you, what we know is that we need to have credibility. Clients need to have the 3 C's: credit, collateral, and capacity. And that's what you and I do. So when we talk about improving people's credibility, that's what you and I do. We help improve their 3 C's, and we accomplish that through the credit and funding program. By going through the credit and funding program, we guarantee to help anyone access a minimum of $100,000. Some people will say, oh, it's up to $100,000. No, that's not the way the grant was applied for nor written. It is a minimum of $100,000. Of course, our process is proven, legal, and effective. Typically, if you get pushback, it's going to be people that are either financially illiterate or your approach. If you don't come off as competent and confident enough, then people may not believe what you're saying. And one of the resources that we've talked about recently is if you have prospects that you would like help closing, we'll close your prospects for you. Doesn't cost you anything. We're closing a little over 90% of the prospects that we talk to. So that was a training we had actually last week. But let's move on to, now that we're clear on what we do. We're technical advisors. We help people improve their credibility to qualify for funding, and they get a minimum of $100,000. How is that possible? How's that too good to be true? We focus on improving their 3 C's and building a loan package. So who is it that we help? Well, we're looking for imperfect people. And that's not meant to be offensive. And I realize that you all may be perfect in terms of your 3 C's, but most people are not. Most people have issues with either credit, collateral, and or capacity. So thus, who do you and I look for to help with the credit and funding program? We want to help imperfect people, people that have money problems, people that have credit problems, people that have collateral issues, because that's the people that need the help, and we have the solution for that. So we help them legitimately become credible on paper to qualify for a minimum of $100,000 in funding. So it's important to know what we do and who our target audience is. Now let's move on to our topic of frequently asked questions. So the first is, and this is not new information, it's just reiterating it. So first of all, how do you, as either an affiliate and or a white label partner, receive support and training? Well, white label partners are instructed to have weekly calls. Every week, we should have a scheduled call to review every client in the pipeline. Is the client happy? Are they on track? What do we need to do? So if you're a white label partner and you're not scheduling weekly calls, it's not that you're out of compliance, because it's not required, but I think you're missing an opportunity for us to stay on top of things. It's amazing. I had a white label partner this morning text in, which of course is an option, but text in and wanted a quick call this morning before our training. Well, I asked her, I said, well, have you scheduled our weekly call so that way we have more than 3 minutes to go through this? Oh, yeah. Well, in most cases, I mean, if something urgent comes up, of course, you can call us or text us on the fly. But for normal routine issues, we really need to have weekly scheduled calls. So your desk ready, prepared, we're at our desk ready, prepared, and we can go through client status. Now, affiliates don't do this, right? Because affiliates aren't involved with client implementation. They refer in, get paid. They don't have any other responsibilities. So weekly calls is important for white label partners. Frankly, not contractually required, but important. You can call us or text us. You can email us. I was talking to one white label partner yesterday, and he's like, well, I want a direct line. Well, this is the direct line to our business, and it's answered live Monday through Friday. But what he was really insinuating is, he wanted a direct line to be able to reach us individually, and that's not functional, right? Because we're blessed to be so busy and work with so many of you that we need to have an intake process. And so we have our front end folks that will take the incoming calls and help prioritize them. You can text us to reach us more immediately. You should schedule weekly calls. And then, of course, you can email if you prefer. In terms of training, more than support, but in terms of training, we record these daily trainings. I was talking to that same white label partner this morning. She's like, well, I haven't been invited lately to the morning Zoom calls. Well, when you become a new white label partner, we send you an onboarding email, and it has the invitation. It doesn't change, right? So frankly, you don't need to be invited every day. It's the same registration link. It's the same days of the week, Mondays through Fridays. It's the same time of the day. But if you can't make the live, that's fine. We put most, not all, but most past trainings up on our YouTube channel. And there's hundreds of those there. Okay, so any questions on the FAQ for how to receive support and training? Is that good for everyone, or does anyone have any questions about that or comments? Timothy's asking about turnaround time. We'll try to respond to your text or phone call as soon as possible, but some days are busier than others. And so we'll do our best to respond to you as quickly as possible. But we certainly can get busy, and that's why it is important to have the weekly calls to make sure that we're on top of everything. Okay. So we had a question yesterday from Dan, who's not on our training this morning. Normally he is. Do clients need a social security number to participate? And the answer is no. Clients can enroll in the credit and funding program and or QuickCash without a social security number. So that's another one of the FAQs. Okay. We have questions sometimes, well, how do I go about making sure I get the right clients in? How do I screen or filter out clients? Well, my answer to that is going to be almost ironic. I mean, if you have someone that's perfect versus imperfect, they probably need our program less. But if you wanted to screen people, which you don't need to do, you could say, hey, do you have a lot of money? And if they do, they might not really be a good fit. You could ask them, hey, do you have really great credit? Is your credit just freaking awesome? And if they say yes, they probably don't need the credit and funding program as much as if they had bad credit. If you ask them, hey, do you have a lot of collateral? And if they said yes, then they need the program less. So you can see the point without being sarcastic. We're here to help imperfect people, which is where most people fall. So there really is no need to screen anyone on do they meet minimum qualifications, because we'll continue to get questions like, well, what's the minimum credit score? There is no minimum credit score to enroll. How many years do they have to be in business to enroll? There is no minimum time in business. We're looking for the people that need the help that aren't able to get funding elsewhere. Make sense? So we don't need to screen. All right, in terms of enrollment, how do we enroll people in the credit and funding program? Well, this one depends. If you're an affiliate, we provide you a link and you just use that link. If you're a white label partner, you get them under contract of your agreement. Now, you could have a landing page as well, but if you don't have a landing page, you set up your agreement as a white label partner in normally Adobe or DocuSign, whatever you want. Client executes it, you upload the executed agreement into the Dropbox, and then you notify us to let us know to process. So that's real simple, but I know that we do this every day, day in, day out, and we've done it for a long time. So the question just becomes, do you understand how to enroll someone? I had a conversation with a different white label partner later yesterday. He signed up just about 5 weeks ago. And as you know, when a white label partner comes aboard, we give them a 30-day grace period. So he's past that now. So I was just reiterating to him, hey, we need to get 2 clients enrolled this week, right? We need to stay compliant. And he's like, well, I want to enroll. In other words, he wanted to enroll himself. It's like, okay, fine. Do you know how to do that? No. Well, then we're not on a very good path. There's no surprise you've not enrolled anyone else because you don't know how to enroll anyone, including yourself. As an affiliate, use the link. As a white label partner, you go into your white label partner Dropbox. You have an editable agreement. You take that agreement, you modify it the way you want, get the client's contract, you upload the executed agreement in the Dropbox, and notify us that we're ready to implement. If that doesn't make sense, you need help, it's confusing, what do? Well, then you come back up here. We should be having weekly calls. You can call us or text us. You can email us. And it may be that past trainings could be helpful. But we definitely need to know how to enroll clients, because if we don't know how to enroll clients, then you're not going to help anyone, you're not going to make any money. But it's really simple, really simple. All right, we also get a question, well, what's the maximum funding? Or people will say, okay, I want maximum funding. Well, there is no maximum. You know, it's going to be based upon your 3 C's, your credibility, of course, but there is no maximum. But we don't want to mislead people. And the truth is that once we do a capital raise or plan for a capital raise over 5 million, that becomes very complicated, very complicated. So can we do capital raises more than 5 million? Of course. But the technical answer to the question is there is no maximum. We have a minimum. We have a minimum because that's the way the grant was written, but we have no max. Make sense? Okay. All right. Then people say, well, this grant, I hear about the grant. Am I getting grant funding? Well, no, we're not giving out grant funding. We were fortunate enough to apply for a grant and receive a grant that allows us to work with individuals and help them improve their credibility without them having to pay for it. So do they have to pay for better credit, personal or business? No. Do they have to pay for collateral? No. Do they have to pay for help demonstrating capacity, cash flow? No. There's a refundable setup fee that covers this. They pay that refundable setup fee. They go through the program. They get at least 100,000. And because of the grant, we reimburse the refundable setup fee. So in effect, we're doing all that for them for free. And that's great. You know, where else are they going to go become credible enough on paper where they're receiving the assistance to become creditworthy, collateralized, and have demonstrated capacity and get this 3C value proposition for free? Nowhere else. And we couldn't do it for free if we didn't apply for and receive the grant. But does that mean that we're giving away $100,000 of grant funding? Of course not. That's not what we say. That's not what we do. And that's not how it works. Okay, so let's scroll back down. So we clarified how the grant works. How fast is funding? And this is the issue that probably gets people the most frustrated. You know, they want to know how fast is funding. We will not guarantee same-day funding. We won't do it. No matter how badly people request it, we won't do it. The quickest turnaround is normally next day. And there's even some SBA loans that do next day. So if someone comes to you and says, I need 100,000 today, I wouldn't sign them up. I think you've got a recipe for disaster. But if they can wait until tomorrow, we need at least 1 day is typically the soonest that funding can occur. So I know you'll lose some clients on that, but I'd be honest with them. If they're expecting funding same day, don't infer that that's going to happen, because it typically doesn't. All right, then we get the question on QuickCash. QuickCash has been really popular. That is a resource that we launched recently to help individuals that need money, but they don't qualify for a loan yet. So they're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. They need money, but they don't yet qualify for funding. Well, what can we do? Then we can use the QuickCash program. The $10,000 is the minimum guaranteed amount of the portfolio that we transfer them. But I think what we've done a poor job on is letting you know that with QuickCash, it may be worth much more than 10,000. So I'll give you a real example. Had a client that signed up yesterday. His name is Malcolm, real client. Malcolm signed up for, well, that's not true. Malcolm signed up for QuickCash on Friday, but then he paid the transfer fee over the weekend. And so then it posted yesterday. That's what I was thinking, but technically he signed up Friday. But within 24 hours of receiving that transfer fee, our commitment is to transfer the $10,000 in assets over. And that's happening this morning. We posted his payment at 2:03 Central yesterday. And before that, today, he'll receive the 10,000 in assets. So that's Malcolm, real person, signed up Friday, paid the asset transfer fee over the weekend, posted with us yesterday on Monday at 2:03 p.m. And then he will have his 10,000 of assets this morning on Tuesday. So within that 24-hour window. That's not really the point. I just wanted to describe the timeline. But how much is he really receiving? Well, the portfolio certainly states 10,000, but it's most likely worth more. And let's talk about why that is. So the portfolio is composed of one or more contracts, and those contracts have money owed by the debtor. And in many cases, there's going to be two types of money, well, three types of money owed to Malcolm in this case, the participant in the QuickCash. The first of which would be the face value. So the face value of the assets that's being transferred to Malcolm this morning is in fact 10,000. Actually, exactly 10,000. So we can check that box. Above and beyond that, then what Malcolm can also receive are late fees. So that's the second of the three categories. And late fees are typically set up at $50 a day. So over a 30-day period, now Malcolm is set to receive $1,500 more than original. 30 days times $50 a day, $1,500. So it's a growing amount. So three aspects to look at when quantifying the value of the assets transferred in QuickCash. The face value, we confirm for Malcolm, is 10,000. Late fees, $50 a day owed to Malcolm, not that Malcolm's paying, that he's receiving. The third is the primary point I wanted to make. On QuickCash, it could very well be that the receivable is considerably more than what the face value is. And we're going to continue with this real example. So in the portfolio that's being transferred to Malcolm this morning from his purchase Friday and his transfer fee paid over the weekend that we posted yesterday, 203, is a defaulted white label partner license agreement from a young lady named Hope. We'll leave her last name out of it, but her first name is Hope. It's real. Well, we know that Hope defaulted on her white label partner license fee. So she now owes $10,000 to Malcolm. There's just no question about it. No question about it. She defaulted. She owes him $10,000. Now, is that all that Hope owes Malcolm? Maybe not. Because as you know, as you probably know, within the white label partner license agreement, there could be other reasons that Hope owes more than just the 10,000. And so that could really be 20, 30, 40, 50,000. And you might say, well, Tom, if we don't know, how do we collect it? Well, that's why we go through a process called discovery. Discovery is a legal process where we collect information from the debtor to find out how much money they really do owe. So my gut instinct is for Malcolm received face value of 10,000, but I bet you that the amount that he's owed from that debtor, Hope, is a multiple of that. I suspect closer to $50,000, but we don't know. We don't know. We know about the 10,000, but we don't know about the rest until we go through discovery. And what does discovery mean? That's where we go to the debtor and through the court, we request tax returns and bank statements and business documentation, credit card receipts, so forth. So that's where we go get information to be able to quantify the entire amount owed to Malcolm. So this is all outstanding, right? Because how much is Malcolm out? Malcolm signed up in QuickCash on Friday. All he paid was the $99 to transfer title, transfer ownership of the receivables. Again, he did that over the weekend. We received it Monday and posted. So he's out of pocket less than $100. Less than $100, $99.99 technically. We know he's owed at least 10,000 by Hope, at least 10,000 by Hope. Chances are Hope owes probably closer to 50,000. Where else can you legally and ethically spend less than $100 and receive $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000? I mean, it's the best way to create wealth. Outperforms real estate, outperforms the stock market. It's an incredible opportunity. So I just wanted to answer that question because sometimes people get confused on QuickCash and how it works. So let me scroll down to the bottom line and then we'll open it up for questions from each of you. So in the credit and funding program, we assist participants in improving their 3 C's and creating a loan package. They get a minimum $100,000 in funding. You can earn a great income by helping others get what they want, money to start or grow a business. But let's make this a bit smaller. What questions do any of you have on the FAQs listed? Or specifically, if we missed a question, is there a question that any of you have regarding QuickCash, regarding the credit and funding program, regarding being a white label partner? All right, so Sarah is asking a question about this portfolio, and I know it can be confusing. It shouldn't be, but it's probably just confusing because you're not familiar with the whole industry of debt buying and debt selling. So with QuickCash, oops, didn't mean to cross that. With QuickCash, like with Malcolm, we're transferring receivables to Malcolm, true receivables. And typically right now, the receivables that we're providing are defaulted white label partner license agreements. Because you'd be surprised. We have white label partners that sign up, and in some cases, they don't do what they promised to do. We try to resolve it. And if we can't resolve it, then we reserve the right to sell the debt instrument. So Malcolm literally bought Hope's defaulted white label partner license agreement. Now Hope owes Malcolm at least $10,000 because she defaulted on that. There's no question. We won't even have to go to trial. It'll be a default judgment, or we'll file a motion for summary judgment because there's just literally no defense that Hope can have. She signed up. She didn't do what she promised. She owes Malcolm the $10,000. But the point I was making, Sarah, is that when we dig a little deeper into Sarah's financial records, no, Sarah's, I'm sorry, you're Sarah. When we dig deeper into Hope's financial records, there's a good chance that we're going to determine that the amount of money owed to Malcolm is much greater than 10,000. But we only price the front end based upon what we know, the contractual amount. The other damages we won't know until we go through the litigation process, which we'll take care of for Malcolm if he wants us to. So who has questions on credit and funding, QuickCash, white label partnership, how to submit clients, how to make money, how to generate leads, how to get trained, how to get supported. Who has questions that's not clear that we can help you with this morning? Because I think we covered the main ones. We talked about how to receive support and training. We clarified that clients don't need a social security number. We clarified we don't need to screen or filter out clients. We made sure that everyone knows how to enroll a client. We clarified that there is no maximum funding. We clarified how the grant works. It allows us to provide assistance in improving the 3 C's without the client having to pay for it. Talked about how fast funding is. It's not going to typically be same day. Don't make a promise, don't make a commitment, don't set expectations that clients will receive funding the same day. That is not the norm. The quickest is normally the next day. And then we dug a little deeper into the QuickCash. We used the example of Malcolm and Hope. And so now we have a deeper understanding of how that works. Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns for us today before we end today's training? All right, well, we'll see you back tomorrow morning. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.